So I will introduce our next nominator. Marcia LeClear is the nominator of Bruce Bauman. She herself received a Michigan Heritage Award last year as a member of the Costa Bella Cloggers, who are a group from mid-Michigan affiliated with the Wheatland Music Organization, who have taught many percussive dancers in the state of Michigan. Marcia is just a wonderful woman. I'm so happy that she was the one to nominate Bruce, because I know there's a lot of mutual respect between the two of them, and also a lot of silliness and fun. So no pressure, Marcia. This is Marcia LeClear.
I'm a little bit nervous. Thank you. I would like to congratulate all the Heritage Award winners today, and also to thank the MSU Traditional Arts Program. They work very hard, and this is so important to our state. Onwards to Mr. Bauman. I'm going to go through some of his accomplishments, but I do so only to point out how many years he has pushed this vision. You know, the nuts and bolts he's done. He's dug ditches, he's put up fence posts. I'm talking about the Wheatland Music Organization. He was the founder. But we're talking the small rural community of Remus, Michigan, who went, what? You're going to do a festival in this teeny little town? It took Bruce and a few other founders that are here to meet with the neighbors around kitchen tables, to meet with the business owners, to make that happen. And I think Bruce was integral to starting Wheatland and keeping it right. And that's really important to a lot of us. It never strayed from the mission. He kept it right. Other things he's done, he's helped develop the Hiawatha Music Co-op in Marquette and the Kalamazoo Folklife Center. He's taught so many students the fiddle since 1988. We figure he's taught over 300 students, that's children and adults. And if you've ever learned a tune from Bruce, please stand up. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm going to share one quote from Brenda Terry, a Wheatland member and arts advocate. Brenda stated, "Bruce takes time to mentor anyone wanting to learn to play the fiddle. He shares lessons, songs, history, and lore, but more importantly, he shares and encourages community. He observes and listens to those around him and makes interpersonal connections. He is also a founding member of the North American Folk and Music Alliance. This is 1989 for you young ones. I think you went to Malibu, California. So that vision was there a long, long time ago to even go to California and network with some of the people that planted the seed for Philly folk to Newport to what you name it. Bruce was there from Remus, Michigan. In positions he's held with Wheatland, he's been the program director, the volunteer coordinator, the business manager, the musician liaison and contract negotiator. But most importantly, like I wanted to say, he met with neighbors, he met with people in the community. This was a whole new ballgame for little Remus, Michigan. And I think he cemented the relationship with Mark and Gladys Wernette, who were owners of the farm. They trusted Bruce, they trusted us. I don't know why, but they did. But without that cemented relationship, Wheatland never would have happened, ever. Bruce also was a field worker in the year 2000 for sharing the legacy. He got a grant from the Rural Arts Program from the MSU Museum. He identified, interviewed, and documented 8 traditional music and art elders in Mecosta, Osceola, Montcalm, Lake, Clare, and Newaygo County. And this archival book was distributed to area libraries and remains a valuable archival document both locally and regionally. And speaking of archiving, one of my special stories that my friend Peach brought up in the car was this past winter, Bruce and I spent about 3 hours with a woman named Ruth Fate. Ruth Fate is a long-time volunteer for the Wheatland Music Organization, her and her husband Joe. So Bruce and I sat around the table with Ruth for 3 hours, going way back to how she met Joe, to on and on and on. Whose hand did she hold the entire time?
I held hers.
You held, and he held hers. But that's who Bruce is. I think, Ruth was okay for the interview because, it's Bruce. It's okay. It made it right. He's taught, like I said, he's taught many, many kids and adults fiddle lessons. I'm going to quote again from Grace Reynolds. Bruce Bauman was my first fiddle teacher. His passion for traditional music and dedication to sharing with others has influenced many aspects of my life. He encouraged me to learn more about different types of traditional music and later allowed me to help him with fiddling workshops. Bruce has always been a major figure in my life and a major influence in my musical career. So the ripple effect goes, far and wide from these young people that currently take fiddle lessons. They're learning how to be adults and they have a great teacher in Bruce. Bruce, Chris, and Nick Garris also started their own intensive traditional camp in 2009 called Earful of Fiddle. Again, their mission is to offer aspiring musicians and percussive dancers the opportunity to learn from experienced musicians and dancers. And I say all this just to impress upon you the vision. He's never strayed from that. He's the humblest guy you'd ever meet in your life. He's probably going, oh boy, this is hard, but he's never strayed. He's quiet, patient, tells pretty good jokes most of the time, really long jokes. And on a personal note, I met Bruce in 1970, and I've been a friend for, I think it was 47 years, anyway, a very long time. In conclusion, I'm going to say Bruce embodies the true spirit of a giver. He is not a taker, he is a giver. Bruce has said many times regarding Wheatland decisions, critical mass decisions, well, it's the right thing to do. And when Bruce says that, you know exactly what he means. It's the right thing to do. He has single-handedly brought up a new generation of fiddlers, dancers, mandolin, and guitar players. He has held tight to his vision of creating spaces for traditional music in our singular lives and our communities for over 40 years with a quiet, steadfast resolve. His body of work is a living legacy to his dedication to carrying on traditional music to the next generation. I love him like a brother. I thank him so much for being who he is.
Bruce. So here we have Bruce's 2017 Heritage Award. The 2017 Michigan Heritage Award is presented to Bruce Bauman in recognition for his outstanding contribution to Michigan's cultural heritage. He has, with excellence and dedication, served his community through advocacy, education, and presentation of traditional music and dance, presented by the Michigan State University Museum's Michigan Traditional Arts Program in statewide partnership with the Michigan Council for the Arts and Cultural Affairs. And we have here the legislative tribute, which is signed by State Senator Judy Amons, State Representative Michelle Hoydinga, Lieutenant Governor Brian Calley, and Governor Rick Snyder.
This city has always been a favorite of mine. I learned how to fiddle here been coming here since high school and had leadership training sort of things that I was invited to. So there's never been a bad day or night at East Lansing, or Lansing for that matter. And it just keeps going on and on and on. Last year was a praise of my co-workers, my co-founders of Wheatland. So it's a really cool community we have up there. A lot of you are probably familiar with the festival. The 44th year is coming up here in a couple of weeks. So we were, I think one of the things I noticed in the last few weeks when I was trying to collect some thoughts was, it just shows I'm getting old, for one thing. Or that I was young when we started, and we can go that way too. But Marcia pretty much said everything the way I wrote it. I appreciate her sticking to the details.
Peach did. Peach helped.
No, I didn't even want to bring anything up here. I've been working on it. I had 8 pages a couple of days ago, and I got it down to 3 today in the car. Then it's over there. I think when I look back, this idea of leadership, there was a hole there, a gap in the community. That's what we're talking about. And I didn't know it was there, but kind of inadvertently, I walked into that hole, and we kind of knew. Craig Turnbull is not here, and I saw him a couple of days ago. He's still around. He and I were the ones that were calling these meetings and looking for musicians and who had the sound systems that we could use. And I always had a pickup truck. Craig had a couple pickup trucks. So we did a lot of things for the community. The free concert committee is one that kind of stands out. In the summer of '72 and '73, I think. We built relationships there that led to eventually the founding of the Wheatland Music Organization. But there was a lot of encouragement along the way. Some of you guys remember Mr. Dick Terrier, the late Mr. Dick Terrier. He came around at an important time. I met him, I guess I was 21, he would have been 22. A super musician, a player of the guitar and the banjo. And we would sit, Dick and I would sit, and he'd say, you guys seem to have some ideas about doing concerts and presenting musical activities. And we really didn't, but when he said it like that, it made me sit up and think, because he'd seen these things that we eventually started doing ourselves. He'd seen them down south, he'd seen a Fiddler's convention. And I kept thinking, a Fiddler's convention, what a novel idea. Wouldn't that be fun to have a Fiddler's convention right here in Remus, and nobody would have to drive to North Carolina to go to it, So we kind of built on that. Folk music was something that we were already living amongst ourselves, the core group of 8 or 10 people in 4 or 5 houses around Remus. We were sitting around singing folk songs, trying to learn how to play the guitar and the banjo. Started going to a couple of little festivals. The Charlotte Festival started up, I think, in '73. And so we had inspiration just everywhere we turned. There was inspiration, whether it was our neighbors or somebody that knew how to tune a guitar, even was a great inspiration to us. And because we didn't know how to do that. So some of this started at CMU. I was at CMU for a couple of years, and the names on the founding incorporation papers are a ring of my roommates when I was a freshman in college. We all met there. One of the founders was from Birmingham.
Birmingham?
There's no ham like Birmingham. Thanks to my prompter down there. So a lot of us were from southeastern Michigan that got Wheatland started. We moved to the rural region in McCosta County, fell in love with the place, fell in love with our neighbors, started falling in love with the Wheatland Township Board and the people that offered their farms, and got to know some of the neighbors, and one thing led to another. We didn't sit around and say, we can we can do this, we sat around and said, what do we need to do next? How are we going to keep it going? We walked into that opening. We realized there was something really good there. We had also marched for peace when we were in college. I don't know how many of you have done that. There was a lot of camaraderie that came out of those associations, and they were the same. I was marching with the same people that we started the music organization with. As it turned out, I think we got into music and peace, and sometimes it's kind of noisy out there with all the banjos and everything going on, but still it's a peaceful thing. It's people singing, enjoying poetry and dancing, and you can't criticize people doing things like that. It's an untouchable thing, and seeing a lot of people here today, young people, my students. There's an 8-year-old back there. There's a 7-year-old back there. There's a 30-something one right there.
Yeah.
And dancers, I've worked with Nick a lot. Nick knows as many fiddle tunes probably as I do, which that's a large number. He knows them in his shoes. I have to load them into my fiddle, he loads them into his shoes. He knows them by name, and his feet know every phrase of those tunes. So it's been a great run. It's been a good run of over 40 years. I still play with super musicians. We get to play at all the coolest dances. We play at the Central United Methodist Church back here in Lansing, up on that great stage in front of usually 100 people dancing on that floor. Dancing is all these things are just things I can't stop doing. I have no intention to disappear. The more jam sessions we go to, everybody says, "When's the next one?" They come to the festival. Let's play. Well, if you'll keep playing, if you'll keep coming, we'll just keep doing this stuff. Just like with the henna and the community spirit and passing things on and how important it is. Talking about weddings, and we've had a lot of weddings at the Wheatland Music Festival too. It's good community fun. It's good, clean fun. Like I say, it's untouchable. One of my favorite words is bulletproof. You cannot hurt us. And I'm so thrilled I get to work with not only with my wife, but with the wonderful and devastatingly talented Nick Garris with our Earful of Fiddle traditional fiddle and dance camp, earfuloffiddle.com. And we had that friend from Birmingham.
Birmingham?
Yeah, there's no ham like Birmingham. I'm so glad to have been here, and what a great honor. It really is. All my family's here too. Even some of the hangers-on, and I love every one of them. Thank you very much.
So a special thing about the Michigan Heritage Awards is that we're able to honor those whose physical bodies are not with us, but whose traditions are lingering. In the same way those living artists carry on their traditions, the work of those we've lost is carried on through what they've shared with their community. And that is certainly the case with Daniel Gorno, who is our final awardee of the day. His nominator, who you saw in the previous session, Emily Dobler, has been an apprentice in our program twice. She's a wonderful dancer and was a student of Dan's. So I'll let her say some words about him. And we're honored to have his family here who will be accepting the award on his